know I'm lying. Catch us in the yard, you cannot cross the gun line. Yeah, you know that I'm on my grind. Yeah, I'm self-paid, self-employed. I gotta get paid, homie, I gotta get paid.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Self-Paid. You have your host, Dom.
Alex here.
We have a special guest, basically our fucking brother.
Yeah.
You know, me and Alex grew up together, and then he was there.
Yeah.
Met the whole process too.
My adopted brother.
No, I'm just kidding. You can tell from the eyes. But this is Daniel Lee. He also works with us at Paxton. He does the majority of the stuff under like Alex and stuff. You want to give him a better intro?
No,
like
it's
his brother,
a special guest. It's my brother. So obviously we know about him, but I think his story is a good one for you guys to listen to. So
we mentioned it a couple of times, so now it's finally like,
so it's
we finally have him on there so that you guys can also get a feel of him, because you know, growing up he wasn't the best as far as like, you know, getting in trouble and stuff like that, but it did shape him to like, you know, kind of where he is now, and you know, the success that he has now.
So let's start from, I guess, like who you are, his upbringing, all that, huh?
Yeah.
Tell the
All
story.
right, yeah. So
I already know what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Daniel. I'm 25 years old. I've been doing. We started passing like
2019.
Yeah, it's been a couple years now. And just been grinding it out ever since. But yeah, as they were saying, you know, a couple years ago, this is probably during like high school time, was, you know, when I was probably going through one of the darkest times of my life, I'd say. And then, yeah, joined the Marine Corps afterwards too, with my brother did. And then ever since then, you know, just been grinding it out.
Do you want to talk about like the dark time? Because I know, like, I mean, there's probably people that are listening and they, you know, not necessarily in the same boat as the stuff that you went through.
Yeah.
But there's for sure people that probably know like a cousin that's like, you know, in that same kind of like realm over like you were doing, and like all the stuff that, you know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I know, like, I mean, explain the stuff that you're doing with, like, you know, the runs, the target runs, or like the, you know.
That's from day one. His
from day
upbringing.
one.
Yeah.
Because we talk about it all the time.
Yeah. Let's go back then. Since 2015 is when it all started.
Since you were a kid, just getting your ass beat.
Oh yeah. So yeah. So I mean, it started out. What was this? This was a long time ago. Me and my brother, we were in a pretty abusive household on my dad's side, obviously, but we still talk about it. We talked about it the other day, where we were every Sunday morning, you would smell the my dad would always vacuum the entire house, clean it all up, and every Sunday it was just ass beating time. Right? I remember that every Sunday I'd be scared to get out of bed. Like, if you were to wake me up with a vacuum right now on a Sunday, I get those flashbacks right away, right? But you know, as a kid in the early ages, I'd say we had it wasn't the very best, right? I mean, and then as we got a little bit older, it was much better, and then it kind of just crashed back down again. But I'd say right around that time was when I started getting into like drugs, you know, stealing, fights, getting arrested, shit like that, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
But
I remember one time this was like 2016 or something like that. Were you still in high school then?
Yeah. Wait, I graduated 2016.
Yeah, so it was I think 2016. I got a phone call. I was just leaving the gym, and then I get a phone call from my buddy, and he's like, "Dude, I think I see your brother in handcuffs." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, there's like 7 of them lined up against this fence, all handcuffed." It's like, "Where are you at?" And he's in the Northridge Park. Sure enough, I pull up, and him and like six of the dudes he was with, all on their knees, handcuffed.
Yeah, that was a funny time. Now, even with Dom, I mean, there's been so let's take it back to 2015. I don't know exactly what got me into doing those things, but I'm not even gonna lie. High school was probably like one of the best times I've ever had in my life, and I learned a lot, right? But yeah, it started out just at the time, I guess you could say, hanging out with the bad crowd. But I can't really blame them, because we were just having fun at the time, you know. But yeah, it was a lot of stealing. I remember my first beer run ever that I did. It's been a couple times. You know what's crazy is I went back to, I'm not gonna say where, but I went back to that same location like 4 years after just consistently doing it. And then the guy that was working was still there and he still remembered me. But that was after I joined the Marines. So I was a completely different person by then. But
you weren't there to steal.
yeah, I wasn't there to steal at that time. But yeah, went back and it was a funny story because the guy was just staring at me the entire time.
Damn.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I don't even know where to start at that point. It's just, yeah, I started getting into drugs, a lot of stealing from just like just clothes, stuff like that in general. We were just dumb kids just trying to have fun, a lot of partying, a lot of drinking.
We just made a joke right now with all the stealing you see on the news right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Daniel was like, they're rookies.
No, I was bringing it up. I was saying like, you know, if this was happening back in, back when I was in high school, for all the people that are watching that I used to do these things with, we'd be fucking millionaires right now.
Yeah, no cap, bro.
Yeah, we would get chased out for like a shirt,
Yeah.
2 shirts and stuff like that. you
But
know?
now it's like, because there's I don't know if you guys know too, but there's like a law that passed in California where they can't like, I guess they can't really chase you or arrest you for
some dollar amount, under some dollar amount.
yeah. So
yeah.
no, I don't even think it's for anything like shoplifting in general or something like that. Like they can really just go in there, take everything and dip. Like cops can't do shit.
yeah,
It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are doing, if that law passed back then,
yeah, we
we
were,
would be fucking going crazy.
yeah, for sure. But nah, I was in the beginning of like my high school side. I'd say I was a pretty good kid, right? I was never good in school, you know, but I was a good kid. And then somewhere along like sophomore year to junior year is when, you know, my life just changed, right? I remember there's been a couple times where even you saved me that one time. You know, what's crazy is that so we were getting into all these bad things, but fast forward, I was actually at one of the people's houses that night before, right? And then a friend of mine told me, hey, like, I don't have a good feeling about this. I think you should go home today. And then that's the day that you picked me up. I don't know if you remember, but
Yeah.
I was like barred the fuck out. And I don't really remember too much, but I just remember that same night, Dom actually picked me up. And then he took me to his house. Shit, I don't even remember what happened, but I just remember the next morning I was at his house, and then I went to school the very next morning. I went to Chatsworth at the time. I did school after first period, and then
Which
I went
is like a normal thing.
yeah. And then I went back to the house where everybody was at. But then the weird part about it was that at the time, the door was open already. I think I told you guys this already, but the door was open, and then inside that house pretty much was just like a bunch of stolen. Like it's not just from me, obviously,
Right.
but it was a bunch of like drugs in there, a bunch of stolen clothes, stolen
Car.
stolen car. There was a stolen what else was there? Computers and stuff that was done from
Yeah, like
homes,
technology
right?
and
But
shit.
then the crazy part was we were there and nobody was home. So we were like, what the hell happened, right? And then we get a phone call, right? We get a phone call. It was a collect call, and we were like, oh shit, they got caught up, right? So that happened, and then during that whole time, me and my buddies at the time, we went to go to a smoke shop to pick up some wraps because we had weed in there. And then we go back inside the house, and we hear a knock on the door, right? And then we look outside, and it's just a bunch of fucking cops. And then
Shit.
at the time, it was on the first floor, and they had like a little balcony. And then even in the balcony, there was cops just like swarmed all over it.
Damn.
So the door ended up we opened up the door because there's not really much we could do. And then that's when we realized like it was a more serious matter.
Yeah.
Right. We were just kids, just
Stealing?
didn't think much of it. Right. We didn't think it would get this far. But yeah, that day I remember all of us got arrested, and then we got questioned by the detectives. And that to me, at that time was kind of like a oh shit moment. Because I got in trouble, been arrested, but never been in like never been questioned by a detective before.
Yeah, like in the room and everything.
Yeah, it's literally just like how it was in the movies. They had us in like a metal, like not a cell, but it was like a metal room with like holes everywhere, and then they just bring people in one by one. And then I remember, yeah, got questioned by the detectives. I got let go, right? And then I remember the very next week afterwards. And by the way, the whole time, my mom had no idea. Right, because
Was I here?
Huh?
I wasn't here, huh?
No, you weren't there. I was like 16 or 17 at the time, so I needed a adult to pick me up. So at the time, I had someone's mom pick me up, and I just said, "Hey, my parents are on a cruise," and I would use this line every single time it worked. Just give them a random number, and then yeah, I would get let go by somebody else. But I think during that time for me was like an eye-opening moment. But the very next week after that happened, I got arrested again. And that was like I like the real eye-opening moment. Because what happened was, my friend at the time, he's locked up still, but we were in a dorm. We were in a CSUN dorm. It wasn't his, and we were smoking in there, just fucking around, you know. And then we hear a knock on the door, and then it's the fucking cops again, right? So we look outside, and then we were like 10 floors up, so we couldn't even like jump through the back. So we just waited it out, let all the smoke go out, and then like, I think 20 minutes go by, we look outside the little peephole again, and then no cops, right?
Damn.
So the thing is, it was in like a corner room. So if it was like a little corner and the room was right here. So we looked back outside, nobody was there, so we fucking opened the door, the cops were waiting right there.
Damn.
Right? But luckily though, this cop like really let us off, right? So what's crazy was a couple of friends at the time, they got caught up with like ounces of weed in little dime bags, right? And this is back when like weed wasn't legal or anything like that. They had dime bags, they also had a scale. For me, I just had like, shit, I can't remember at the time, but I had like a couple grams of weed, and then a cigarette. It's fucking disgusting, I know, a cigarette, and then that's it. So we got arrested again, and then yeah, we got sent to the jails in the CSUN area, and then.
But they arrested you for smoking?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It was because it was all hotbox. They were trying to figure out whose it was, but the reason why I was like, oh shit, like this is bad, is because inside the room was just a shit ton of drugs.
Damn.
Like we had a friend who used to trap, and it was like every drug you could possibly think of, and that's when it hit me. I was like, fuck. I mean, there's nothing we could do. Yeah. Right. And then what happened? We went back to the jails. They let us go, and then that's probably when I had like the eye-opening event. Right. Or actually, and then after that too, I think, no, sorry. After that, I got into trouble again. Because I remember it was with you, I think. Not with you. I wouldn't get in trouble with you, but did you drop me off at my mom's house?
When?
The day you picked me up?
No. You came to mine.
And I know, but did she pick us up?
Oh. That I don't remember.
I think she did.
I think I either took you home or
I think she did, but yeah, at the time, like I was literally just taking drugs every single day. So I was taking drugs every single day, and then I kind of had like a little come down, right, where it was out. I still remember this moment like super vividly, where remember the apartments, the Satakoy one. So I was there. It was probably like 2 a.m, and I was just coming down off the drugs, and I remember looking at a red light just blinking, right? It was just blinking, and then I was literally like contemplating my whole life at that point. I was like, fuck, like I was stealing from my mom. I was like, fuck, like I should just die, like dead ass. I literally thought that, and then that same night, I barged into my mom's room just breaking down. I was like, hey, like, I'm sorry for everything that I did, blah, blah, blah. And then I think at that moment forward is when I kind of like made the change. Right?
Damn, it was really like a self-reflection moment.
Yeah. Because like, I was literally just looking at it. And like, I don't know if you guys ever felt that before, but I was just looking at a red light, just blinking back and forth for like a good 30 minutes. Just like contemplating my entire life. You know?
Damn.
Daniel has this saying where he talks about it to our guys, but he has this saying where he says, everyone should hit rock bottom. Right. And I wanted you to talk about that.
Yeah.
And explain why. Because I want you to talk about that Jack in the Box story too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But like, why do you think everyone should hit rock bottom?
Yeah. So, yeah, I do preach that quite a lot. I'm not saying, you know, if you have it good, you know,
go hit
rock bottom. But I think when you hit rock bottom, that will kind of truly tell you if you want it or not. Right. So a lot of people, when they're in a bad situation, they harp on that moment. Right. And I've learned that with all the hardship that we went through, even if whatever happens in life, the world will never stop for you. Right. The world doesn't care that you lost all your money. The world doesn't care that you lost somebody. As bad as that sounds, but life just keeps moving on. So for me, that was probably one of my rock bottom moments. I've had a couple like that, but from that point forward, it kind of shapes you to see like if you're fit for this life, not for this lifestyle or not, but it shows you whether you really want it or not, right? And I've had a couple of those because I fucked up a lot in life, but there was one time too where I was in the Marines at the time. I was there in the Seal Beach area, and if I remember correctly, all my friends that night wanted to go out. So we meet each other once a month. So when we do, it's a pretty fun time, right? Excuse me. So Everybody wanted to go out. I wanted to go out as well, but I had no money to go out. I probably had like, what was it, like $10, $20 in my name. And this was like 5 years ago, I think. Right, I probably had like $20 to my name. Everybody went out, and I made some excuse saying, "Hey, you know, I'm gonna just stay in for the night. I'm tired." And then after everybody went out, I waited a couple hours because I don't want them to see me on the way out. But I ended up going to Jack in the Box, and only thing I could afford at the time were the tacos. When it was 2 for $1. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
So when it was 2 for $1, I ordered like 4 tacos, and I was just in my car eating, and I think I broke down. I broke down at the moment just because I realized like, the lifestyle I want to live and whatever I'm doing right now, it's not really, it's not going to help me get to my goal. So that's when I also realized like, hey, I need to make the change, right? I don't know if you remember it, but this was like 6 years ago when I was working as a server, and you were still in Germany or Japan.
Germany?
Yeah, Japan. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the first check I got in solar, I called you, right?
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, this is the most money I've ever seen at the time, compared to working as a server doing full time, you know, just wasn't cutting it enough for the bills. And then I remember I told him about it. He told me to quit. So I got his advice. And I just quit it full time, and then just started doing full time solar ever since.
Yeah. I remember I would be in Japan, and then he would try to like pitch me through text over the phone. and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell you're saying. But he would try to like, especially for the guys here who are practicing, right? That's how he would practice too. He would try to pitch me through text. And then I remember, do you remember me telling you like, I don't know what the hell you're saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, fast forward, and then obviously he's here now. Like I had a good moment, like the day we went to horror nights.
Yeah.
Like I had a good moment where I was sitting in the back. Obviously I was drunk, but just sitting in the back of your car, I felt good. Like I would think back to the times where you were a fucking menace. And just so for you guys that don't know, like when they say like Dom picked him up and whatnot, this is why we have such a close bond, the three of us, because I was in North Carolina at the time.
Yeah.
And I would get phone calls from my mom or from somebody saying like, Daniel's here, Daniel's doing this. And I'd be like, I don't know what the hell to do. So my first instinct would obviously be to call Dom. And then thank God like you were there. But
yeah, it's been, and it's crazy. It's kind of off topic, but you know, thinking back on it, I realized like how bad of a son I was at the time, right? Because back when we were living in the apartment, right, I wasn't paying any bills, but my mom was also struggling. And then every single day, she's gonna fucking watch this and she's gonna know now. But all right, but every single day, before I would leave, she would always put her purse. You remember that little like step we had? Mm-hmm. So she would always put her purse right there. And every single day I would leave, I would always steal money from her purse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
honestly, I feel like a mom's intuition, she probably just knows.
Yeah.
And she just didn't say anything.
Yeah, but then it came to a point too where in order to like help fund like my bad like lifestyle, like I even remember going into the closet at the time where she had a couple bags and I was literally about to sell those shits.
Damn.
Yeah. And thank God I didn't. I never ended up selling it, but you know, I was just like, that's how bad it was. You know, and then now I look back, I'm like, damn, like she was already struggling as it is, and then I'm over here stealing more shit from her. Like, yeah.
But I also got like I want to like kind of, because I know you talk about it too, that like even like a fiend will figure out any type of way to get money,
yeah,
like, stuff like that. Because you always talk about it with the guys too, so it's like
yeah,
you know, go ahead.
I get what I say is like, if you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. Like you'll figure out a way. Meaning, like we have alcoholics who have no money who will find a way to get alcohol. There's people right now working a 9 to 5 who are thinking about drinking alcohol, and I guarantee you, by the time they get off, they're gonna have alcohol. It's the same thing with drug addicts. They're sitting there wanting some sort of drug now, and even whether they have the money or not, they'll figure it out. There are people freaking addicted to porn, thinking about it right now, and they get off. That's what they're gonna do. So the point that I make is, if you're obsessed with it, you'll find a way, right?
Yeah.
And I think it applies to business and success, or just life as a whole. I think if you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. In the same analogy as in a negative context, right? But that's what I wanted to talk to you about, was advice. right? If you could give advice to, obviously you and I were brought up together, but had different upbringing. Like,
Yeah.
I never did any of the crap Daniel did.
Yeah,
Like,
he was a smart one, and yeah.
yeah, but what advice would you have for anyone not in your position of like like the negative aspect of like doing the crap you did, or maybe
Yeah.
even then, but someone in your shoes, what advice would you give?
Yeah, like someone, if I could talk to myself like years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So number one, I would say, okay, so Dan, there's a lot of things that I wish I could tell myself, but I'd say number one, is it's crazy as it sounds so like nonchalant, but it's just to keep going, right? Just take it another day at a time. Cause a lot of the times, what happens is, let's just talk about the beginning of solar time, right? You see a lot of people that you're around, and you start to compare yourself to other people, right? And I think comparing yourself to other people is probably the worst things that you can do, right? Because number one, you can't compare yourself when you're on chapter 1. You can't compare yourself to somebody on chapter 30. You know what I mean? But as long as you're consistent, and as long as you're putting in work every single day, as long as you will get a little bit better, and as long as you get even 1% better every single day, that's all that matters. That's kind of how I got to where I'm at right now, right? I didn't see the success. You don't get overnight success, but as long as you show up, which it takes no effort. All you need to do is show up, work hard, be consistent in whatever it is you're doing, and those small wins will add up. And those small wins will add up, and then you'll start to see the progress from there, right? Yeah, I mean, that's probably what I'd say. That's probably it.
Yeah, probably just, yeah, exactly.
Look, there was a point in time where he wasn't stealing my shit, but I remember one time we used to skateboard together, and I remember I had spare trucks in my little drawer, and then one day I wanted to use them to get a new board. They're gone. This fool acted like he didn't know, and then a couple years later, he told me he sold it.
The skeever back then, bro.
Yeah,
that's why I look at myself back then. I'm like, damn, it's crazy how much you can change. Because I know for sure, like all the people I went to high school with too, or like the teachers I went to high school with, none of the teachers liked me at all. Because I
probably didn't even know you were gonna be.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Almost like anything in life. They're
yeah,
like, damn, this is gonna be a fuck up and just like
exactly
life up, huh?
Because in school I was just like, I would go to school drunk. Right, I would go to school drunk, just off of drugs and stuff like that. But what's crazy to me too was, this is a funny story. I was in Granada for the first 3 years, and then I graduated from a continuation school at the end, right? But my mom had no idea about it, right? So I was at Chatsworth at the time, and one of my friends, Juan, you guys know Juan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's fully Hispanic, right? Over here, fully Asian, and he actually helped me transfer out of school. I told the counselor at the time that was my stepbrother, right? I don't know how it worked, fucking transferred out. And then during graduation, I remember I didn't tell my mom about it. I don't want her to show up to my graduation because it wasn't like the traditional high school graduations. It was number one, she thought I was still in Granada, right? And then I ended up going to this. It was like in East LA, somewhere in East LA with like a bunch of continuation schools just all in one. And then my mom cried that day because she had no idea what was going on. She thought, and then it brings me like some sort of like, it makes me kind of feel a little bad too, because at the time I would always blame my mom for everything, right? So she had the burden of like texting me all the time, like, hey, you know, I'm sorry that this is how it ended up back at the time, you know, but then now I look back at it, I wish I could have done a lot of things differently.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, I feel like the both of you guys, you know, you guys both repaid your dues like with your mom too. I mean, right now, if you guys aren't like, they take care of her to, you know, a certain extent where, you know, she doesn't have to worry anymore, which is, you know, I feel like every son's goal is to do that. Well, I mean, depending on their relationship with their mother, but like our mothers are kind of like everything to us, you know, and just to see them like, you know, they're in the same room as me, and they're, you know, being able to take care of their mom and, you know, buy her a new fucking car and do all this stuff, to like, from being in that position where he was in like a long time ago to now being able to do all the things that he can do. It's motivating, especially with like, you know, the people that we have on the team. They look up to a lot of people in here, and like the good thing about everybody here is we all learn from each other, and we don't pocket watch or anything. It's not like, you know, we all learn from different people, and especially having these two guys around, like they're big part of like the business that has to do with the motivating factor for sure.
Yeah, that's really obviously why we wanted him here, because we knew, we obviously, you've been through it too.
Yeah.
But I think he's a good example of starting from like the complete other end of the spectrum in terms of where your head's at mentally, right? Because there are people right now listening who aren't doing the crap you did, who are just at zero wanting to take that next step. You weren't at zero, I think. You were below that. Yeah. Yeah, and you stand as a good testament to show people that once you make up your mind, I think, and you commit to it, then you can get it, right? And there's a story that I tell where I know a point in time you didn't like me.
Yeah.
And the day that I picked him up from the
and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, I beat the dog shit out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always tell this. I tell this story because obviously, like, we're pretty, like, we're not private about that, just because, like, you know. But I remember that day. Like, I still think about it, like, now. But I remember that day. That's when I realized, like, as fucked up as you were, like, he's better than me, because, like, I fucking. Do you remember that day?
What?
That day in that CSM parking lot, in that corner lot.
Yeah.
Where I picked you up after.
After I got
After you got pulled over. Yeah.
But she got me. He saved me that day.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy too is you saved me that day too. You know that what's crazy is then not you picked me up the very next day. The people
that were still there.
That were there. Yeah, like they all got caught up and locked up. Like my friend Peanut, which I talk to on a daily basis, right? He's still locked up since 2015.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that's when it was. I was in 2016 that day, but I remember like it was just like I think our dynamic was different because we're obviously brothers. We're only 3 years apart, like not even 3 years, like 2.5 years apart. But there was a point where like we didn't have dad, and then Mama was just like trying to, you know, just make sure that there's food on the table.
Yeah.
But I had not resent, obviously, because you're obviously my brother, but I remember just feeling like angry, right? And that's why I always say like he was better than me, because even during those times where you obviously weren't happy about it either, that day I remember like some Grand Theft Auto shit. Like I parked the car, I opened your door, and I remember just beating him, and he didn't say a word.
Nah.
No, and I wasn't throwing body shots. Like, he was on the floor and I was going at it, and and so that's what I think about. I think about that. Like, I remember that's what I thought about when we were driving. It's like, damn, this fool's got it.
Yeah, I mean, and when we say like, keep in mind, like when we say like that he like changed he changed like completely. Yeah. Like you know, I mean, a lot of people think that. I mean, I don't know what they think about solar, but like he was the first one to see like an actual commission check like with solar. Then he told his brother about it, and then his brother like was like, "Yo, I think I'm gonna start a solar company," because he started working with the company that he was working for. Yeah. And then it all went from him getting that first check to him giving the information to him working there, both of them working there, then just like meeting everybody together in his living room, be like, okay, like, we're just gonna fucking do this. And to see like where it goes now, like, you know, we're pushing big like numbers, like the yearly numbers. Like even what he was saying last year, we did last year's number within the first 3 months or 6 months.
6 months.
6 months. It's, like, you know, that's crazy. And like the thing that I love about like these guys too is like they don't flaunt it, you know. They don't have,
I mean, he's got a freaking pinky ring and all that.
Yeah. But you know, they don't like, especially like social media wise too, like they don't really give a fuck for that shit. Like these guys are like in their bags, and that's all they give a fuck about. Like, you know.
Another big thing that I'd say too is this is a big mistake that I made in the beginning, right? Was when I first started to make a little bit of money, I realized I blew a lot of money in the wrong places, right? Because for me at the time, social media distracted the hell out of me, right? You're over here like flexing on social media for people that
don't give a fuck
don't even like you, number one, and you're trying to you're trying to portray yourself as something that you're not, right? And that's like, I'd say you hear this a lot, but if that's one way to go broke so fucking fast, You start buying shit that you can't afford to show it to people that, again, don't really care about you. But once I realized I made the switch that I don't give a fuck about what anybody else thinks, I realized how much better my life got. And it's hard. It's easier said than done. But when you really do stop caring about what other people think and their opinions, you'll really realize how much more you'll upgrade in life.
Facts.
Right. I think that's really, really important.
No, 100%. Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it too, like before, but like, it's like the prime example. Like literally, like these two guys are you guys are literally the definition of like not going out, not doing shit, and just focusing on just like killing it at work. And I mean, it pays off, you know.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't really know like them personally, like the people that are watching, like random people. Like just take a glance of like inside the life, like, you know. Like, he can go by fucking a whole, like, fourplex if he wants to. They're just waiting for the right time right now, you know? He drives an MA comp, G-Wagon, like, but they're not, but those are, like, you know, it's just kind of like saying just exactly what he was saying. It's just, like, it's not for social media. He does it for himself. Like, this is all just because of him, and he's here every day, working every single day, putting deals on the table, like, every week, like, going crazy, and nobody on the outside sees that. You have to be inside to see that. But we all know that everything's well off, and from when he was doing his shit that he was doing back then to now, it's a big difference, big change, and we're all gonna be happy when we're all at the top together, for sure.
You know what's crazy too is when Paxton first started, right? We have pictures, and I look back at it, and it literally started off in the living room.
Yeah,
right.
Starbucks.
Huh?
Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks. But I'm saying like afterwards,
the meetings
when we started getting a little bit more people on board,
like, it was like 3-4 extra people.
Yeah, literally in the living room of our house, we were running meetings, and yeah, just thinking about it. I remember during that time too, another time where like I felt like so cold. You know what I mean? Like if you guys ever felt like so stressed out to the point where like your body just like it's in shock.
Yeah,
it's literally what it feels like. Like you feel a bunch of like adrenaline going through your body, and it's just shock.
Yeah.
Right? I remember during that time, it was like when COVID happened, right? And during COVID, we made the mistake in the beginning of not working. Remember, like the first month or so, we kind of because
we didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't really know too much. Where we have on the door-to-door side, not many people were really willing to make an appointment. But I remember looking up my I was trying to avoid opening up my bank account. Right, I was avoiding it at all times, and then I remember a month or so came by, and I was like, shit, I need to see how much I have. And I remember opening it up, and my body went in shock. I was like, holy shit. Like, I was literally counting down, like, how many months. It was like 2 months, I think, that I had worth of to pay for my bills. So I was like, holy shit. Like, what am I going to do? And I think that's when it came to the point where I was literally going in my closet, looking through everything that I can to sell it. I was putting it on OfferUp, just things for like $20, $30, just so I can make ends meet, right? But then I remember after that, right after COVID or during COVID, I think is when we really started to take off.
Yeah,
because
I think you were the one that came into the office, and we were just like, you know what, I'm gonna start tomorrow.
Yeah, and
if you guys want to work, I'll be here. If not,
yeah, I remember at that time, it just kind of hit me where we were just not slacking off, but we were on a little pause for like that month being, and then
we were just there watching.
Yeah, we were there. We were there drinking and
yeah, just like is this really going on right now?
Yeah. Then it hit me. I was like, I went into the office, and I think I sent a message out in the group chat. It just hit me that day. I was like, hey, we can't just let this. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a lot of success or shit. A lot of people can get a lot of success during like tragic times. Yeah, I'd say, right? Like
downtimes. Yeah, like the downtimes.
And then I didn't want to be a bystander during that time, right? Where I knew, hey, at this time everybody is home, right? And then we kept going, doing what we normally do, and then during that year, I think we did really, really well at the time.
Yeah,
obviously compared to this year's numbers, but at the time it was probably one of the best that we've done.
But I think it worked out perfectly the way that it was supposed to, because without that, I mean, you're right. Everybody was home, and it was literally just like we can still knock and talk from 6 feet like away.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
We made it happen.
Yeah, and then it still blows my mind sometimes seeing like how we started off,
know.
It's literally like it's gonna be like the Nike movie, right? Starts off small, and that's kind of how we were. We're nowhere near where we want to be yet, but just seeing even that transition, it's pretty eye opening to me.
Yeah, and that's why I always say, like, when people talk about the company, it's obviously our dog's name, but it's really not mine. Like, that's how I see it. Like, I like, if it wasn't for the team, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Right. And each person has their own like role in whether you just started or not. Like, you always learn. Like, we have a one of our seasoned guys he's going through some hardship right now, and he's still here, and nobody knows except for like the two of us and maybe one more person. Nobody knows. Even after the meeting, nobody knows. And I think about like that, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna say it publicly because it's not out, but
the fact that like
you can't tell.
Yeah,
he texted the chat and was just like, "Let's fucking get it going.
Yeah,
let's fucking work. And it's just like, I'd rather be surrounded by those type of people around here than anybody else, because like.
And just to preface, he has like it's not even an excuse. Like, he has every valid reason to be upset and whatever it is. But like, you got guys here who don't have a damn clue, and I'm not saying that I am thankful for that, because obviously if he needs time, like, it's there. If he needs support, like I told him, like, I'm there for whatever you and your family need and whatever the case is. But he I don't know how to put it.
We're just wired differently.
He just knows that the world's not gonna wait, and if he needs to continue, and we didn't say anything. He did that himself. Yeah, and that's just how strong the mindset here like is.
Yeah,
fuck. Like,
I know. When I told you that, well, even when I heard, I was like, damn.
When I heard too, I was like, oh fuck.
But like, times of this is completely different, but times of hardship, it really shows you like how much you want it, right? Like, I remember, I saw one of you guys' podcast, I think it was you, where it was like, you know what's crazy is that when you go through a breakup or something, right? You just want to go like 10 times harder, right? This is completely different from that, but I remember even back when like with our grandpa passing, right? That kind of made me realize, like, hey, like, I have time to mourn, which might not be the best way to mourn or handle situations, but that's just how I always was. Where if something happens, you just got to keep it going. There's people who have little bit of something that happens, something bad that happens to them. I'm not saying this is bad, but a lot of people, they really let that ruin them, right?
Yeah. No, I get that.
They go through breakups and they just make themselves
victim.
Yeah, they have the victim mentality where they just feel bad for themselves and they just put themselves in a deeper hole.
Deeper hole. Yeah, I know. I had that conversation too, where I think we didn't mourn. Yeah. So I think I already told everybody, but freaking year ago, right? It was a year ago, a little over a year ago. My grandpa committed suicide. Our grandpa.
Damn, it was already a year?
Yeah. It was over a year. It was like April. And I didn't even text you.
Yeah. No, you know what was crazy is the day you texted me, I was with Jacob. And I was all the way in I was far. I was like 50 miles away.
And I just didn't want to like mess with you. Yeah. So but anyway, go ahead.
I was literally I just closed the deal at the time. It was one of Jacob's, and then the second I get back, I look at my phone and I was like, my shit just went. I just felt like cold again. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Is this real? Am I reading this correctly? Yeah. If you ask Jacob right now, like, he would have had no idea. Yeah. Because I just played it very cool, just keep it professional. After I dropped him off, I think I just sped. Yeah. Yeah, I just sped home, and then that's when I realized, I was like, oh shit, this is real.
Yeah, I don't know when I texted you, but I think I texted you guys at the same time, because I didn't say anything. So I'm gonna get into it just so, because I'm gonna tell you guys like how I dealt with it. But I used to have this like very it's toxic. Like I would always say, like, if I didn't have this extra body to feed and to take care of, like I could leverage so much. That was like the excuse I would give, because sometimes, like, I love my grandpa to death, but there are times where, you know, he got a little old and he was very difficult he was like a baby, right? And it was just he would scream and stuff, you know. Just, I mean, I get it, but there were moments where I had like such bad thoughts where I was just like, if he were still in Korea, like we would have more freedom, right? Where it was like trying to take care of another body. So I remember my way of doing that was like I would always bring food, right? Because he would be at home like doing what he does, but I would bring him food and whatever the case is. And I remember I came home at like, I don't know, 3 p.m. because our office was right next door, right? So I would come in and I would tell him like, hey, I'm gonna go back to the office, because this is when we were packing. Like, I'm gonna go to the office. I'm gonna do you want food? That's what I was thinking. So I went upstairs and I was like, hey, do you want food? And there was no answer. So I remember I knocked the door. And I was like, hey, do you want food? And I opened the door and he took like TV cords, bro, like cords like this. You know what I'm talking about? Like the electric cords, and he was hanging, right? And I remember I was like, what the fuck? Like I wasn't thinking, where I was just like, what the fuck? And then I backstepped. I didn't even turn around. I just took like 2, 3, 4 steps back, and I closed the door, and I just kept backstep. Like, you know where my house, like how my house looked?
Yeah.
I kept going back, and I just backstepped into my room, and I turned around, and when I opened the door, my room door, you know how I had like shoes in my bed on the side? I remember just looking at it. I was like, what the screaming, like, what the just happened? What the and I went back, but I was mad now. I walked back. I was screaming. I was like, I was calling him like, Grandpa, what the fuck? And I remember in my head, I was like, this is a joke. This is a sick fucking joke. And I felt him. Like, if you haven't felt, like, you know, they're like very rigid, cold. And I was like, what the just happened? Like, why the and then anyway, it like cut him down and whatnot, you know. And then a couple hours later, I didn't text you. I didn't even text Amma, because I knew, you know how Amma is, she's very emotional. So I was like, I'm not gonna text her, and now she'll be the last to know. And then I texted you two, and the reason I didn't text you was because you were at the lead. But the whole point of this is just to, like, I tried to get like not very detailed, but just so you have an idea. But that was my first time going through that ever. And I think I cried that day. And then the next day I was back to work, right?
Yeah, like,
and
no one would have known.
Yeah. And then Ryan, basically our fourth musketeer, he was driving the U-Haul, and I was like, hey, Ryan, can you drive? Like, I don't want to drive. So he was driving the U-Haul to move to this office. And I just looked to the side. I was passenger princess, and I looked to the right, and I just started crying. I was like, fuck. He's like, and then Ryan's never seen me like that. And he's like, he thought I was fucking around. I think so.
He was just fucking around, just crying.
And he's like, and then I couldn't stop. And he was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm just tired. I keep fucking driving. Like, I'm just tired. And then everyone would tell us to mourn and whatnot. And what basically the point of the story was, because Daniel was just saying, maybe we didn't deal with it the best way, but find a way to deal with it where you're not digging yourself deeper. Because in my head, I knew, like, if this, obviously it affected us, but if this was, we were already on track to do something, which we moved here, like, we could have made it worse, where it was just like, all right, team, like, I won't be available. Like, that's not what I didn't want. Right. And so life happens. Whether you want to, I don't know if you believe religiously or not.
My bad. Have you seen that? I don't know if this is a real clip. Have you guys ever seen that video of that president during the time? Where I don't know if this was if this is a real story, but it was a clip of him like on the stand, and his wife and kid just died in a car accident, and he just came back working like it was perfectly fine. And he kind of said that he's like, hey, look, all I want to do right now is just, you know, hide behind this and just cry, but the world's gonna keep going. So, you know,
yeah, and that's how I felt, where I was like, all right, well, we're still on track. And it's the same thing with breakups. It's the same, like, there are people who take breakups harsh, and like, I recently just had a breakup, but like I know it sucks, but at the end of the day, what can you do?
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of how I've approached life the entire time, where obviously like my first breakup, it was devastating. Like, oh, I don't know how to deal with it. And I think that goes to show like you harden in business and everything, in the gym, anything in life. And I think as you take more failures or more L's or lessons or whatever you want to call it, you start to learn to handle it better.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that I think a lot of people are afraid of, where they're just like, hey, I'm going to start this business. It's going to do really well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be the negative person, but it's like, hey, expect bad shit before it gets good.
That's how I like to kind of explain it to the team here. Like, where, with doing what we do, just in the entrepreneur side, owning a business, you don't see the results right away, right? And I kind of think about it as like a room, right? There's a room, and you put a ball and you just bounce it back and forth, right? It's just going back and forth. You don't see any results. And it keeps on going that way. But at the end, as long as you're consistently putting in work, I do believe that you are going to see some sort of result. I don't think that you can just work. And when I say work, I mean you're actually working. You're not half-assing it. But if you're actually working, at the end, there's going to be a time where you will see some sort of result. But and this is why a lot of people fail, is because when times get tough, they leave right away, right? But then at the end, the room will eventually open up where you're going to either go up or you're just going to go right back down. Or all the time that was in between, it was just wasted if you don't keep it going, right? Where I've been in that situation a lot of times where I wanted to quit so many times, right? So many times I wanted to quit. And even now, I don't want to quit, but now there's times where I'm just like, damn, how do I continue this? How do we continue doing what we're doing? But then now I just know how to handle that situation better, because as you said, I've been through that same feeling, I guess you could say, multiple times now, where I know now how to handle it better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is a good place to end.
Yeah.
A lot of information, a lot of bombs, a lot of advice. I feel like you guys can learn from something from here. I enjoyed this conversation. I know it's kind of maybe a little bit low energy, but it was just more of like, because this is how we just talk. We're just talking, you know. But you guys got to know a little bit more of Daniel, who we always like speak highly of on the podcast, and then of course of Alex too, because you know they're brothers. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. If you guys want to see him again, feel free to let us know as well. Again, we're gonna have his social media on there too. If you guys do want to follow him, he just started his own car page.
Yeah, he's TikTok.
So it went. One of his views went to like what, almost 100 now.
Yeah, something like that.
Come on, like 100K views and stuff. So
he changed up on us though.
Yeah.
But follow his car page too. He's gonna be going crazy on that. I can already see. He's like, something that he always loves is like his cars, and this one's like a little baby to him. So follow that. If you guys want anybody else on here, feel free to just DM us or put it down in the comments. Like, subscribe, and wait, what'd you say?
Any topics?
Any topics. Feel free to DM us or drop them down in the comments as well. But like, subscribe, and then we'll see you on the next podcast.
Damn! I was going up there, huh? Dumb.